Welcome to the Dork Forest. Jackie and her pals will never bore us. Shameless confessions
about our obsession
will make us laugh and smile. So let's explore the Dork Forest and dork out for a while.
Happy New Year! Hi, I'm Jackie Cation. You're listening to the Dork Forest. It is available on all of the websites, and including iTunes and Stitcher and YouTube. And if you go to dorkforest.com or jackiecation.com, you'll find links to all of it. And then I have another podcast with Lori Kilmartin just about stand-up comedy. But this is the Dork Forest, and it's January 2020, so Happy New Year, and feel free to start donating again. That's right. Donations went off last year, and I don't blame you, but think of me. And PayPal will let you do it monthly if you want, but I understand if you don't want, because monthly is its own commitment. But the people who do it monthly, I said do. I totally appreciate that. But there is also going to be new merch. I'm phasing out one of the Dork Forest t-shirts. I think it's the black one. It might be the green one. The green one's almost completely out of stock, so I think it might be the Dork Forest one itself, but feel free to try and order stuff so that I can get those two new shirts on the website, because right now the merch page is a bit crowded, shall we say. By the way, my website is done by Vilmos. You know that. The song that was just sang was composed by Mike Rickberg. He'll sing his version of the Mexican hat dance at the end of the program, and Patrick Brady is going to fix this audio and has been doing it for these many years, and I genuinely appreciate that about him so much. The new shirts are going to be a shirt with a bunch of my dad's sayings and a drawing of his face on that Jenny Fine did. And Jenny Fine, of course, was the artist who did the Meat Shield t-shirt, and she also did the art for the Horcrux album and DVD. You can get all of my old merch still at jackiecation.com, and the new merch, feel free to email me, jackie@jackiecation.com, and we'll figure it out, is what I'm saying. I'm going to record a new album in 2020, but I don't know where or when. Feel free to come and watch me work on the new hour. At jackiecation.com has all of my tour dates, and at jackiecation on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. There's also a Dork Forest Ranger page that you can get into. Donations, PayPal, Venmo, do whatever you need to do. But I'm very appreciative of everybody's support over the last 13 years. Let's get into some dorkdoms, shall we? Hey, it's Jackie Cation. I'm in my living room with Diane Hong. Well, Hong D. That's your Twitter handle. Well, Hong D with an at. WELLHONGD. That's funny.
Hey, thank you.
I'll see a pattern. You do stand-up comedy. You guys see Diane Hong do stand-up comedy. You have a show down in Orange County, or where is it?
In Orange County and Santa Ana. I just moved to Orange County, so I'm still learning too, but I've been told it's Santa Ana.
Okay.
That's where it is.
Oh, well, fair enough. It's in Santa Ana, and it's called Peeps and Treats. And if you go to @WellHongD, you will be able to find more information on that. And, of course, Valentine's Day is coming up with the traditional Book a Woman for Comedy Day. So, myself, I'm not working.
Oh, what? Do you want to stop by and do a set if you want to stop by?
I'm going to my niece's bat mitzvah.
Oh.
Yeah, good times. I'll be in Minnesota in February, which
that's
I
exciting.
can't imagine it's par for the course. I usually end up in Minnesota around January or February, so that should be
That's
cold.
a good time. Yeah, I mean, that's cuddle weather. I'm sure it's a big V-Day thing over there. No?
Sure. Well, I don't know why
I've never been over there.
I don't know why they're having the bat mitzvah on Valentine's Day, but maybe it's because that's when her birthday is. I don't know when my nieces and nephews' birthdays are because I'm a monster, but I don't even know when my siblings' birthdays are.
I mean,
or my dad.
As long as you know that they exist, I think
right.
That's kind
they
of
were born.
Yeah, that's the important part.
It is the important part.
It only happens once a year. How are you going to remember that?
Exactly. And really, as my father likes to say, because he never knows, is you were just born the once.
Exactly.
And I was like, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm using that is what it ends up being. I get exhausted with him, and then I co-opt it.
There you
because
go.
it's an excellent defense.
Well, my dad told me, my parents didn't believe in birthday presents mainly because they're immigrants, but like my dad was always say, like, when I asked him about it, because I heard about it from other kids, he's like, well, we gave birth to you, so you owe us a gift. And then I was like, we're done. Never ask anything again.
We can be done. Yeah, my dad is immigrant people as well, and so it's not an issue. In other countries, it turns out, nobody's having a month-long birthday party.
Oh yeah, that's a different thing.
That is a several generations of being an American thing.
Oh,
for
100%. If I ever have kids, if they ever come up to me with that, I don't think I'd be ready.
Oh my God, with the month long?
The month long. They're like, we should celebrate. No, you were born one day. It was really probably only a couple hours. I don't know why we need to do the month.
Andy's birthday is January 29th. And those, not all four of those presents
I was
going to
say, he's
a lot of
very
presents.
loved.
He is very loved, but his family has been in this country for like hundreds of years. And so he has this thing that I don't challenge it because I didn't never even thought of it before, but he's like, my birthday starts when I get my first present, and then it ends when I get my last present. And everyone's birthday ends that way. And I was like, that's weird. It's just the one day that everybody suffered to get you out of their person. Yeah. And then, but okay.
I mean, that's great that he gets presents enough to know, it can be based on that. I mean, I always thought they only gave it that one day. I use that excuse with my friends. I'm like, oh, sorry, I missed it.
I missed your birthday. That's it. I missed your birthday. I guess I'll take you to lunch. I'll buy a cup of coffee.
Exactly. I'm like, I missed the present window. It has to be coffee or lunch now.
Right. And I never know, because we didn't do presents a lot as kids, I never know what to get people unless I run into something that I'm like, oh no, they would really like that. And then it's no near.
Oh yeah, I'm the same way. I actually just gave my good friend from like elementary school. We had this conversation about how she doesn't clean anything, and then so lemon extract is really good for getting out stains. And stuff. Yeah. So for her birthday, I got her lemon extract, and she was so confused. Like she forgot our conversation, so she started putting it on her skin.
No, it's gonna eat right away.
Yeah,
eat right through you.
They thought it was like essential oils, and so it was just like, oh my goodness, it was bad.
Context is everything. And I've taken, actually, with the Bamford used to buy me, like, she'd be like, hey, I thought of you, so I got you a trinket. And I'm like, how about you take a picture of it? Because otherwise you're buying me something I'm going to throw out. Oh. And so
that's a good save.
We have a small house. We have a lot of stuff. I don't need any more stuff. And so I buy trinkets for her too, but I have recently taken photos of it and going, hey, I thought of you. Look at this stuffed animal.
Yeah.
This is a sloth stuffed animal. This might be something you'd be into. And she's like, oh, that's very nice. I'm glad. And I'm glad you didn't get it for me because I have a lot of crap. So, I mean, we all have so much.
That's a very good point. I'm going to start doing that. Yeah. I think that's a good idea.
Well, because if it's the thought that counts. Oh my. It is literally the thought that counts. Yes. And if you're broke, which I am not, I could buy her all the trinket craps and Andy all the trinket crap. And I do tend to buy him more. He collects these Hot Wheels, and they're either $1 or $4.
Yeah.
The fancy ones are $4. So if I see one that he doesn't have, I will get it for him.
Yeah.
Which is a nonstop parade of gifts coming at him.
Oh yeah, and that's if they're collecting, that's one thing because they're already like that's something that they do. But if it's something that they're like, I have a whole bunch of Hello Kitty stuff because one person as a joke got me like a Hello Kitty key, and then people keep giving me, and I don't like Hello Kitty.
No, and it's the same thing with frogs and unicorns. And there's a weird people will be like, oh, I like unicorns, and then for 20 years you get fucking unicorn shit.
Unicorns are so in.
They're down.
I don't know what happened. It was like Lisa Frank was hot, and then those kids grew up, and now unicorns are in.
All right. Here's the thing, Diane.
Yes.
We've been chatting for 6 minutes, and you have not got to chat about your thing, which
You're
is
just so much fun, Jackie.
You're so much fun, and I want you to like me. So I'm like, tell her stories. Anyway, I've never had anyone on the Dork Forest whose dorkdom has been 90s and 2000s K-pop.
It's very specific because that's the only time I really cared. I don't.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you still listen to it?
All the time. I'm very into. It's harder now though because like not all. I mean, it's easier than it was back then because back then you just only had CD. I say back then, but I'm 31. Right. But when I was like 10, that's around like the 90. Around that age.
And CDs were the way.
Yeah, and that was like the only way. And I was going to Korea. I spent actually a lot of my summers in Korea at that time.
Nice.
And so my parents were like sending me over there to learn Korean.
Yeah.
But the problem was when I got there, all my cousins and my aunts and uncles were like, hey, teach us English.
Right.
And so the only way for me to really learn Korean was like watching TV and then like listening to the song. So I would like find like translated lyrics, or like I used to write out the lyrics.
Yeah.
And then like translate them, or have my cousin translate them. And that's how I learned Korean.
Okay. So how is your Korean? Pretty good?
Terrible now. I'm such a disgrace. I'm
a disgrace. I don't speak Armenian, and I get shit for it on the regular.
I definitely still pretend I'm Chinese at Korean restaurants. It's like that bad. They'll look at me and they're like Chinese, and I'm like, oh yeah, we're gonna go that way because I have an American accent.
Yes.
According to, and then when I was growing up, all the Americans around me were like, you have like a weird Asian accent, because it wasn't like fully Asian. It was just like terrible because I don't.
Oh,
speak.
when you speak Korean, you have a mishmash accent that nobody can discover what the hell you're trying to.
When I speak English, that's where the problem is. When I speak Korean, everyone in Korea is like, you're American.
Okay.
And then because they know I'm Korean, unless they think I'm Chinese. But when I was younger, it was harder to tell. I had a bowl cut. So it was like really a dead giveaway. I was very Korean. And they would just like purposely like not even pretend to listen to me. Because they're like, you're so American, even though it's not like, I've heard in like, if you go to France and you try to speak their language, they'll work with you.
Right. But maybe not if you're not French.
That's true.
If they thought you were French and with just a shitty American accent, they'd be like, no.
Yeah, it gets very judgmental.
It's weird how judgmental everybody is. You're like, Didn't anybody in your generation want to immigrate? Because guess what happened? My parents immigrated, and we've melted, and
and that's kind of like what happened with me. It felt like, so that's why my parents would send me over there because they wanted me to learn Korean and like learn my roots, and so like K-pop was a way for me to do that. And then now, and then when I stopped being able to go to Korea, I basically lost all my Korean because I didn't use it. And then also like when I was a kid, I would get made fun of. And then another reason, like my English probably wasn't the greatest because I was listening to so much K-pop at the time.
Right.
And there was English in the K-pop, but I think the English is better now when they put it into songs. But like back then, it was not correct at all. Like there was this one song, I'm not a rapper by any means, but like and they would have people from America, like there was this not rule of thumb, but like a kind of like a saying or whatever, where like if you couldn't make it in music in the US, which a lot of Asians couldn't, it was even now we're having a hard time.
Right?
So it was like worse in the 90s.
I think there's some doors that are cracked open
exactly.
now, and that's about it.
And like imagine like 20 years ago, like impossible. So a lot of those artists went over to Korea, and like they still, I don't know if they just did not have any control, but there was like some lyrics I'm like, that's bad, but you still like this one.
English is your first language, but you let them mess with it.
Exactly. I'm like
who are some of the people? Who are the people who sing?
And then almost in every single group.
Okay.
In the early generation, there was one American.
Okay.
Or like American citizen. And that's kind of a big deal because in Korea, you as a man, you have to serve. There's mandatory military service. And so if you're going over there and you're like, basically your career is there, you're making all of this money from, that country, there comes a point where you're going to have to make a decision. So they come over there starting off as like American citizens. And then I think they either give up their American citizenship or do the dual citizenship thing where then they have to serve the military time.
And so that happened recurringly?
Oh, yeah. There was actually one artist. So he's the only person in history to, like, from last I checked, that actually got banned from Korea. He's
from South Korea.
He's not allowed in South Korea.
Okay.
So what happened was...
And this is a young man.
Now... At the time, he was a young man...
From?
Los Angeles.
From here?
Yeah.
Okay, from California.
Either New York or LA.
Okay.
So he was basically the Korean usher. His name is Yoo Seung-jun.
Okay.
And so in Korean, the last name goes first.
Okay.
So when I say, so Yoo is his last name, Seung-jun, I think his American name is Steve.
Right. Yeah, so, right. He's done having that fight. Fair enough.
And so he blew up. Like he was a solo artist at the time. There's more groups, so it was like, you know, like boy bands were a thing. So there was record labels were making groups. So like for him to come out, it was a huge deal because he was like the usher basically.
Right.
He
and
could
this is in the early 90s.
Early 90s,
Okay.
maybe mid to late 95, 96 ish.
Okay.
So he came out, and he just like everyone fell in love with him, dancing, good looking, like
Right.
everything. Like
Triple threat.
yeah, and I'm very gay now, but like as a kid.
Now,
But as a kid, I didn't know about the gay thing. It wasn't
Right.
an option. I mean, I definitely, like, looking back on who I had like, looking back, I'm like, that's
Yeah.
definitely a crush. I'm like, oh, like, I can see. But men were actually a little more effeminate. Like, especially in Asian culture, men are a little more effeminate.
you know, it's very funny that you would say that because I did this tour, one of those armed forces tours, and I was in Djibouti, Africa.
Okay.
And our liaison was a Filipino guy, and he was Fey. Like he was literally he felt like he was from another world. He was beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Right, and he was wearing like a pink pant and a blue, like a sky blue polo, and he
yeah.
was the father of 6, and very straight, enormously straight, but so beautifully like self-aware of like, no, I would like to be pretty,
Yeah.
and I need to fuck my wife right now.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. So I have seen that in some in Asian cultures. Not as much in America, but
No.
in
It's the hypermasculinity in America that's a whole other thing.
that's our thing.
Yeah.
Congratulations, gentlemen. I'm sorry you were raised in it because get yourself a sky blue Izod because it's
so
nice.
pretty. It works with a lot of skin tones.
Anyway, so the
So-
people you had crushes on.
Yeah, so I mean, and he was one of them. Like I took a drawing class. I did like a whole portrait of him. It was a thing. But so like he was the biggest heartthrob at the time.
Right.
So it came time for his military service. So when it was getting closer, he kept saying in his press releases, he was like, I'm gonna join. I'm gonna fight for my country. I'll serve my country or whatever. Right.
Right. So he's 14 here. Is he like 14?
Oh no,
when
I'm
this
sure he was in
happens?
his 20s because I think from the 20s to like 30, somewhere in between there, you have to do your military service.
Okay. So, but what kind of music is it?
Pop. It's like pop and hip hop. So K-pop is like basically a mix of everything that just is it's popular. Like if you listen
Right.
to K-pop, it's probably going to be very popular because it mixes with a
So
lot
it
of
could be
different things.
ballads, it could be dance, it can be rap, it can be
it's everything, and
Right.
there's multiple genres in like one song. Like it's
Okay.
just it's a mix, and it's because they take influences from other people. So K-pop became basically music. South Korea found a way to make music like a commodity, like
Okay.
something to sell. And so that's like what happened. Like Yu Seung-jun was going to China, like they started branching out to other Asian countries, and like I think they tried to bring him over to the States. But what ended up happening is like right before he was supposed to sign up, he went to America and was like, I'm gonna have my American citizenship, and was like,
I'm just going to stay here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he like basically tried to come back and was like, sorry, like years late, like it was definitely too late. And then the government like basically, he like tried to fly back in. The government was like, nah. And then he turned into one of the most disliked or hated people. He went from like usher to like
Right.
a pariah because like that's such a big, there's still like a lot of morality tied with entertainment and like all of that because the government is very
the government wants you to be a role model and all
exactly
these things. And-
like Korean culture is definitely different than American culture and just like how things are. And so like you can see that in the music and in the songs like now with K-pop now. So that's why I'm stuck in this time period.
Okay.
Because like I feel like there's more to it. Like it represents more of the culture and like what it's like to be Korean. And like, even though it's poppy or whatever it is, like there's still more substance to it versus now K-pop, you see like BTS or like whoever, and it's just pretty.
Okay.
And like Koreans were very, I don't know if we still are, but we were #1 for plastic surgery. So
Okay.
we're very like superficial.
So there's been some huge rush on plastic surgery.
It's a very big deal. Like to like look a certain way. Like almost every single Korean celebrity has had plastic surgery.
And so back in the 90s, they did not?
They did.
Oh, they also
They all
did.
look the same. This is terrible to say. They all pretty much look the same.
Right, but that's a plastic surgery thing.
Exactly.
Because plastic surgery does make... Have you ever heard Dana Gould's joke about plastic surgery?
No.
It's essentially, he said, the purpose of plastic surgery is to make you look younger and prettier or better looking. And he said, and if it ever worked on anyone ever, I would recommend it. And and I was like, oh, noted. Anyway, but So everyone's been doing it since plastics in Korea because
For a while.
because of the racism against Asian people. Because there's always been that thing about the whole eye thing.
That's
and
what the surgery is the most popular. It's actually a 30-minute procedure. That's how
outpatient.
How quick they got it down. I actually had I didn't have that eye surgery.
Right.
I had a different one. And I want to clarify because mine was for like actual
For medical reasons.
I had too much fat in my eyelids and I really couldn't see as much.
I think Amy Anderson had that same one, and it was also for medical reasons. And she's like, it wasn't to make my weird round. I'm not trying to be round-eyed. Get off of me.
It's a legit thing. But then it's also because like I think Korean, like when they try to make K-pop like more like global,
right?
They want that standard look of beauty. So skin whitening is a big deal. Like I'm dark for my people.
Oh,
and I'm like paler now, but I used to play a lot of golf, and so that's when I was really dark. And like
you could have got dorked out about golf.
I could have, but you already had someone do it.
No, I did,
and it was great. It was a great episode. Yeah, it was a great episode. And so like the culture in the K-pop in the 90s, like mid-ish 90s, that's like when it just completely changed. It was first introduced, like music in Korea used to be folk music. Okay. Until like early 90s, and then there was this...
Until early 90s, they were still just playing some version of acoustic guitar business?
Yes, with like the traditional
plink. Yeah, plink. I've been there.
Yeah, and that was it, and it was
very beautiful, and it's very soothing, and I've gotten many a massage to it.
There you go. Yeah, and it's and it was very like it has to be a certain moral thing. It's very like pro Korea or just very like love ballads. It is very specific on what you can sing.
Even in K-pop in the 90s.
And then it changed with K-pop. And then there was this first group called Sotaeji Idol, which is like now people know it's a Sotaeji and Boys. It's just the translation. Okay. And he basically brought K-pop / hip-hop over to Korea, and it was not well received. So he performed on a TV show, and the judges like gave really low ratings, basically like, I don't know what you're doing, because he was dancing and like all of this.
He was dancing and singing, and it wasn't the traditional folk music at all.
Exactly.
And he wasn't just doing karaoke.
Yeah, and then wearing the baggy clothes, that was a big no. Like,
no,
yeah,
are you supposed to wear tight clothes?
Are you supposed to wear like tighter clothes
that fit?
Clothes that fit, yeah, because they around that time like break dancing started being a thing, you know. So like Koreans, it was the younger generation is a very repressed. There's a very like repressed culture. So a lot of the early like 90s K-pop is from the earlier groups is it sounds very teenage angsty when they get to their second album. So a lot of it is like I'm sure other artists do this too, but like you'll like with Lady Gaga and Eminem, like Eminem, for example, one song has to be for radio. It doesn't sound anything like it, but that's what the record label wants.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Lady Gaga, same way. You can see the progression of her. Like what you can see is like, oh, you actually want to do this. You're not what your first album is.
Oh, I see.
And there's like a lot of like that happened with K-pop artists. Like HOT was so it was Sotaeji, and then they saw the success with Sotaeji and Boys, and so this record label SM Town, or this guy who started SM Town, which is like I think BTS is part of SM Town. I'm not sure, but they turned into three main labels in Korea. It was JYP, YG, and YG is more the hip hop, right? And then JYP is kind of a mix, and then SM Town is like pure pop-ish.
Just sing along.
Yeah, and so like HOT was like really happy and poppy. Then you get to their second album, and it was like, we are the future. Like this is like we're the young
the rebellious.
Yeah, it's very teenage angsty, and these are people in their 20s. Like
right. But I mean, the thing is, that's the amazing thing about it. I think a lot of is you get to see people kind of grow up.
Yeah,
and they're recording it.
That's it was really cool, and that's what like I love about that time period is because you see the changes, but also like they're still true to like the culture and like what society is like. It's almost like a time capsule with some of those songs because like even Soteji and Boys, like they'll do songs that were like against they actually got one of their songs like completely banned,
Was censored
because it was like basically trying to be like, it sounded anti-government.
Okay.
And then there was a rumor that started that one of their songs, if you played it backwards, had satanic messaging.
Sure.
Which didn't have any proof, but it was enough because it's, Korea is a very like moral high culture, enough to be like, you can't listen to them. And
Right.
then they went on break, and then so they came back, and then by the time they came back, they were doing like a lot of like rock punk thing.
Okay.
Like I just remember seeing him perform, and he like had red orange dread. It was weird. Like
Yeah.
a lot of weird
Yeah.
genre things, but that's because the culture, it's like a lot of kids, like if you like even for me, like I didn't get to experience a lot as a kid. So when I got to college, I went wild. Like
Yeah.
I was like parties, drinking, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it kind of felt like that because like in Korea too, like the kids, it's very strict. And also there's a test. Korea has one of the highest suicide rates.
Wow.
And that's because there's a big test at the end when you graduate. I think
Sort of high schoolish?
High school at the end. There's a test that basically determines what college you can get into.
Right.
So it's like the SAT on crack.
Yeah.
Like it means so much because it tests you from basically when you're a kid, like kindergarten, first grade, all the way up.
Wow.
Everything.
And it's one test?
It's one test.
It's one fucking test to see
Yeah.
what you've learned in the last 11 years?
My cousin, he was studying so much, and this is common. He was studying so much and eating only ramen because that's what he can, like the fastest thing he can eat.
Yeah.
He started going blind because of all the sodium from the ramen.
Oh, Jesus.
And like people, like the stress of it, there's like, if you're late to the test, you can have a police escort. Like the whole country revolves around this test.
And it happens, like every June or whatever?
Yeah,
whatever
I think
date.
it's once a year, and it's like 20% retake it because it's almost shameful to retake it. So people, like a lot of kids commit suicide, and so like there's a lot.
What the fuck?
It's a lot
That
of
can't be
pressure.
good.
It's not.
That sounds bad.
But we're great at math, and
Oh, Jesus Christ. Right.
so
The pressure alone will make you just go, I guess I'm going to be good at everything right now.
and it's a lot, and that's why you feel like a lot of the music is like you can feel the teenage angst part of like where like screw the adults, like there is a lot of like why like fuck the adults basically.
Right. And there ought to be I mean, because the thing is if you think about it, why do you listen to music when you're a kid? You listen to check out, you listen to like, is there anybody who thinks the same way I do? Is there anybody who has my back on this? And you're like, oh, Metallica does. In my case, oh, Harry Chapin does. Anyway. So yeah, but so it's like that. So what are the songs that you'll listen to on replay now? Are they second albumy or are they first albumy?
They're like a mix of like first and second, and sometimes third album. I'm really into that.
You'll
because
follow.
it really depends, like because I was going to Korea's during the summer, so like when I'm in Korea, I'm like immersed in it. And then when I was younger, I was able to, like when the internet came out, I was on the forums all day reading fan fiction, and I taught myself Photoshop so you can make these banners.
Yeah.
And like they're called banners, and you're just like collages of your favorite pop artists.
Okay.
And then like, or idols, they call them idols. But like you just make, and it's just and you can put a cheesy quote, and then it's just like, this is who I want
to hang out with.
Yeah. And like, so you just make, and like people were making them, and it was just like a whole thing.
Right. It was 1,000 photoshopped images of your favorite pop singers.
It basically
and
was.
lines going, isn't he cute? Or whatever.
Yeah, and then there's like I learned about transparency, all that, and it's just like just weird broken English stuff that, about love. But like, so it depends on my mood, really. Like I love things that make me sad.
Okay.
I'm really, and I think that's part of my culture, just as Koreans. Like a good K-pop music video is when you cry. If you're not crying, I don't know what you're doing. You're either soulless or that's their fault for not making you cry.
Okay, the singer is crying?
No, when you watch the video.
Okay. Oh, that's very popular. There's in romance novels. There's ones that make you cry. I was buying one at a Target.
Wait, like the sexy romance novels?
Yeah.
That make you cry?
Yeah. They're just it's a good crying jag. Anyway, because
that's a lot of feelings, like horny and crying.
I don't know if you understand what's happening in a romance novel, but there's often misunderstandings. And you know what? That's sad. I don't know what the plot of a K-pop music video is. What makes you cry? And what are they? What are you sobbing about?
Oh, okay. So I'll tell you this one, and then I'll tell you about songs. So like, so if I'm like trying to like, I want to feel. So like a lot of the songs that are.
Oh my God, the entire generation going, I don't have any feelings. I just need to cut myself, which is super real.
Yeah.
And I apologize. There we go. Keep going.
So I was going to make a terrible joke. Okay, never mind.
I just did. So.
So like, for example, like one of the songs that I listen to is called 여자인 난 여자니까, and that's because, and its translation is because I'm a girl. And
Okay.
It's by this band called or group called Kiss, and it's a all female group. And like the music video is basically like these two people fall in love. One's a photographer.
Okay.
And then it's like cute, romantic, happy, and then like something happens, and then so what happened was like he was taking pictures and he needed to like get more film, and she's like, I got you, boo. And then she goes downstairs and like she's reaching for the film but knocks over like the chemicals.
Oh.
And it gets in her eye.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it gets better. And then, so, she's rushed.
Move the microwave phone a little bit away before I lose my shit.
And then, so she's rushed to the hospital.
Sure.
And then, they're doing surgery and she's blind. And so, and the guy, he like rides motorcycles. And so the cut to him just like riding and just being
Furious.
and just so dramatic. And then next thing you know, it cuts to her and she's just like walking around like fine, not blind.
Oh, weird.
And then she goes to the racetrack, and then there's a blind guy with his little dog, and then she sees him, and then she noticed that there's a picture of her next to him that he's just holding.
Uh-huh.
And so he gave up his eyes. I'm getting teary thinking about it. He gave up his eyes for her.
She had an eye transplant?
Yeah, from him. I don't know if that's medically possible, but it is.
Jesus Christ. I'm so sorry.
And this is not even the worst. Like, this is not. And then so I'll watch that music video every now and then to like remind me that I'm human. And then there's another one that I listen to on repeat.
Yes.
And then this is kind of an example of why I really appreciate K-pop music at this time, because like this song I think actually came out in the later 90s, but it's a glimpse into our culture and like who we are as people.
Yeah.
So there's a song called by this group God. For example, this is where the English does not make sense too. The group is called God. It's an
Like
acronym,
God.
like God, like it's an acronym for Groove Overdose.
All right.
Right?
There's nothing wrong with that though. When you think of a band, I could see a groove overdose band.
Okay, maybe
Yeah.
I just thought that was weird. I remember being like a kid and being like, why? Like, because
How would you conjugate that? Don't worry about it. Don't sweat it. It's a band. Yeah, but Groove Overdose is actually a pretty good name for a band.
Okay, I'll give it back to them. I was judgy at first, but you bring up good points.
Here we are in the Dork Force safe space. Name your band whatever you need to name it. Go.
And then, so they have this song called "To Mother," and then it's that's the English translation of it, but it's very Tupac. Are you familiar with Tupac, the rapper?
I understand he's not dead, but he's dead. Anyway, yes.
But when he was alive officially, he had this song. He had this song called Dear Mama.
Okay.
And so it's very much like that. And so the song's about, and it tells a story about how like this kid grew up really, really poor, and it was just him and his mom. Mm-hmm. And one day he was just like, I'm sick of eating like the same stuff. I want something different. And then so his mom like took their savings and took her son out to this place to eat jjajangmyeon, which is like a dish. It's a noodle covered in black bean sauce, which people actually eat during Valentine's Day because it's black, so it matches the color of your heart. Aww. We're very
so
dramatic people.
We could talk later about Korean food, which I love.
Oh yes.
Anyway, go.
So so she like took him out to this with her savings, right? Because they're very poor. And then he even like asked her, and he was like, "Why aren't you eating?" And she was like, "Oh, I don't even like it." But in reality, it's because she couldn't afford both.
One.
Yeah, right. She could only afford that one. And then they opened up this store, and then she was very hardworking. And then it was just basically like he's like singing to her, saying like, I love you. Like, think like you gave up so much working for me. And then like in the video, it shows the store, everything's happy, and then she falls, and then turns out she dies. And so that song ends with like, "I hope you can rest now." But like it really shows like the sacrifices that like parents
do
it's
for
a
children.
familial thing,
Yeah.
and like where children are, it's a different level of gratitude or like gratefulness, because like our parents, like my parents came over here and like they worked their ass off for me to have everything. We just started having a relationship. I'm 31. Just not even, we didn't have one to begin with.
Oh, okay.
Like at all.
Okay.
But I had this respect for them because I know how hard they were working. Like they worked 24/7. Like I never saw them. I raised myself. That's why I was like, only knew how to make ramen. I was a fat kid because all I ate was ramen.
Right.
So it really shows like, what the culture is like.
Yeah.
And then also, another song that I like by G.O.D. is this song called Gil, which is Road.
Okay.
And the song is basically, the music video is not as good, but the song, the song is basically, am I picking the right path?
Okay.
How do I know I'm picking the right path?
Okay.
And like, being in stand-up comedy, and I came from golf too, and I was definitely listening to this a lot when I was playing golf, because I was like, am I doing the right thing? I kind of don't like this. But it's the only thing I know. And with stand-up, like this is a hard path to go.
Sure.
So like there's a lot of rejection. So sometimes there's like, I've been listening to that song a lot to be like, kind of reassuring me that like I just gotta trust what I'm doing. So like I'll listen to these songs because like it either resonates with the feeling that I have, or like it's super sad and I just need a good cry.
Right. Or it reminds you of something, sometimes it's super nostalgic and you're like, this is so, I remember like there's a couple of songs, everyone your age and a little bit older right now, maybe even a little bit, everybody's fucking listening to what they're calling yacht rock.
What's that?
Yacht rock.
Like a boat yacht?
Yeah, the boat yacht. A yacht as a ship that is privately owned by someone fancy. Now, but they're all these songs. Essentially, they're the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack, right? So it's like all these sort of, and all they do is remind me that I was never able to roller skate backwards.
Oh my God.
Because I was there for these fucking songs. On and on, you keep on trying. Da da da. Anyway, it's like that shit, and that's a one-hit wonder that I happen to have memorized in my brain box, and then all of a sudden you're like, I know Kenny. Who is this stealing? What are you doing? And I don't mind those songs, but I don't know anything about that music any more than I know anything about anybody else's music.
Yeah.
But sometimes they do make me kind of. There was a song that I remember hearing, and this is just a weird, addendum, but in 1970 or 72, there was, my life was a mess, right? Because my parents were separated, and my mother was drunk all the time, and then she died. But during like 72, when I was like 5 or 6 years old, I raised myself. I was alone most of the time. I have 5 older siblings, but they were busy raising themselves, and they would check in with me. They were not monsters. Everyone mostly checked in with me. But when I was 4 to like 6, the songs came out, and one of them was Candyman. Sammy Davis Jr. sang a song called Candyman, and then Rhinestone Cowboy. And I love those songs so much. And so I used to, when I was like in my teens and my mother had passed away and my father had remarried and my stepmother. And so it's the late 70s and I'm supposed to be caring about Andy Gibb, or it's the middle 80s and I'm supposed to be caring about ecstasy and, and all this other stuff. And I don't, but I would hear like one of those songs and I would literally just sit there and happily cry.
Yeah.
And just nostalgically cry.
That's
And that's what,
exactly
and that's
how
what kind of it is, right?
Yeah,
And,
for sure. Because it does take me back to that time where things made a little more sense. I mean, I think that's always like the thing about nostalgia is just like, it's nice to think like at the time, I'm sure I was like completely lost, no idea what I'm doing. But like looking back, I'm like, life was simpler. It probably wasn't, but you remember the good things.
I do a joke about how everyone says there's every generation has a simpler time, jackass. Who's like, because it was like, it's a simpler time. When I was a kid, things were easier. It was a simpler time. And the reason is, of course, is because we were children.
That's true.
It should have been a simpler time.
Exactly.
If it was not a simpler time, it means you were working in a sock factory in Hong Kong and you were 11. And that was sad. So please, I pray for the simpler time. Anyway, so.
Oh, I want to show you about my fandom. So I actually went to my parents' house and I found these are called diaries, and they're actually planners.
Okay.
But this is from 98. But this is what I mean. So this is HOT. Okay. And like you see how they're a
Are
little
they hot?
It stands for High Five of Teenagers.
High Five of Teenagers.
Yeah.
See, I don't understand. The God one is fine. High Five of Teenagers is a mess.
But this was the group.
Okay.
This is actually, I think, from their second album. But that was the group after
There's 5 of them.
Right?
And
they
are
all
they
have
teenagers?
I honestly don't remember. I don't think they were.
They
Probably,
look very young.
I mean, but we all do.
Right.
It's kind of like built in. But like, so each group, everyone has a role. So like,
Okay.
This one is Tony. He's from America. I think he was like singer, like rapper. I think that's Uyok, and he's the dancer. Jaewon is the youngest one, which is a role for some weird reason.
Okay.
Heejun is the leader. Typically, that's the older one.
Yeah.
They also have to sing very well. And then, but the other, so there's the singer who has to sing well. The leader typically sings well. The younger one and the one that might be a dancer just really has to be pretty.
Okay.
There's some people, like you'll see the groups, and some of them, they have no talent besides just being pretty.
Okay.
Which is perfectly fine.
That is fine. As
each
long
their
as
own.
someone can.
Exactly.
As long as someone can sing.
And that happens. And then Kangta, he was like basically the Justin Timberlake of the group.
Oh, he wrote all the songs? Or?
I don't think any of them actually. He was like the singer, the talented ones, and he went solo. And like he was the big one that like.
Oh, he was the breakout star.
Yeah, like everyone
Okay.
like had the biggest crush on him.
So he's the American.
He was the American.
One guy's the American. One guy's the youngest.
Yes.
One guy's the dancer.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's the leader, who's also a singer, and then this guy's the fancy singer. This guy's the lead singer.
The lead singer. And then the leader usually, he wrote, so actually which was really cool, he actually wrote, when he started being able to do more of his own thing, you can see a lot of his stuff is a little more darker, a little more ballad-y. I think third or fourth album they came out with, one of the title tracks was... the lead singles was Outside Castle. And it was basically about how society treats disabled people.
Oh, interesting.
And like how we should treat them better and not treat them as like less than people just because they're disabled or whatever.
That's the lead singer guy?
No, that's him that wrote the song.
The leader guy
Yeah,
wrote
and
the
then
song.
they actually so in Korea there was 2 or 3 main TV shows. There was Music Bank, SBS Inkigayo, which is like popular music. That's the translation for that. And I can't remember the third one. It wasn't that good.
And are they contests or are they just performance?
So this is different. Musically, this is different than what is provided in America. They're performances where people can go vote. So they're like, I think it was like weekly or a couple nights a week where like these singers, like popular singers were just like performing their singles, and this is how they promote. So they don't actually like, they'll do their own like concert, but this is like a performance how everyone like sees them and like
and
sees
now
the
you're
dances.
like, go buy this single.
Yeah, and then choreographed dancers are big in Korea.
Yeah.
Like people love that. They'll memorize a dance, the song, whatever. And so when they came out and released that Outside Castle single, they actually put sign language in the performance, in the choreography.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's like that stuff. Like that's the type of stuff that like old K-pop has versus like now is just after like what people see with Gangnam Style when that came out and basically put K-pop on the map, and it wasn't like Korea's first attempt on bringing artists over.
Right.
But it's the one that blew up because the music video was just so ridiculous.
What was it called?
Gangnam Style, the one with Psy.
Nah, I got nothing.
You don't remember? It was like it was like the YouTube video like got like 1 billion hits.
A billion?
1 billion. It's at like 3.4 or 5 billion right now.
Gundam?
Gangnam Style.
Oh, okay.
Most people pronounce it Gangnam Style.
Okay.
That's the American way of saying it.
Sure.
But
is it just dance mostly? Like what's
I honestly can't. It's an event you need to see. It's hard to describe because there's just so much happening. But the dance became popular. It was like this like riding the pony thing.
Oh, wait a minute! I was at a wedding where people did it.
Yeah.
Did the dance. How about that?
So our people are so proud.
Exactly.
We do so much.
Finally, you perfected so much.
So that's kind of like what, and that song itself is actually a critique, a social critique on like the city of Gangnam, which is kind of like just overpriced, like super bougie, and it's a critique on that. But no one knows or no one cares. And now you see BTS, which is just like pretty. It's just so many things, and
So honestly, it even went like further, like more shallow, slightly more shallow.
Yeah, and that's because
even that Gundam thing was had some social commentary.
Yeah, but no one in America cares about that.
Right.
But that's where the money is. And
right.
so like it definitely has changed. But then, like back, like talking about like Outside Castle, or like songs where like with Road, or like Two Mother, like all those things, like that's where my heart is. Like where I just like, I feel the meaning, even though I don't understand it anymore. And like my Korean is terrible.
Right. But if you were if you went to Korea, you would get immersed and it would be fine.
Yeah.
It would take a second.
I would like to think so. I like to have faith in me.
When was the last time you were... I would like to have faith in me. You should totally have faith in you.
Thank you. I'll try to work on that.
Oh my God. Yeah, I would love to care if I was still trying. Yes. Anyway, so when was the last time you were in Korea?
I want to say like 2008 or 2009.
Okay.
And then that's when I had... what surgery did I have? Oh, I think I had like there's like some like something with my neck, and so they like had to take some of that out, but it was over the winter. And then I got a little bit back into K-pop.
You went to South Korea for surgery?
My family over there, they're all doctors.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
So they're like, so they see you and they're like, I wonder what we...
Pretty much. Because, yeah, oh gosh.
They're like, oh, we should probably fix this up.
Everything needs to be fixed.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Yeah, because that's what, Korea is very like, it's very superficial. Like, I don't think, like, maybe now I could fit into some clothes. Because
I flew Korean Air, and the stewardesses, the flight attendants were genuinely the best looking people I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I mean,
and
not
by
to
the
make
way,
assumptions, they probably had surgery.
well, they all looked almost exactly the same, like body type wise.
Yeah,
it was like, you're like, oh, I'm sorry, you all have to be 112 pounds, 120 pounds, or whatever it is, right? And they were they were nice. They were perfectly nice women. But I was like, because I love, okay, wait, is there another one?
Oh, no, this one is like, it's just the same thing pretty much, but it's like this. Someone told me it was a cartoon version of Kangta, but I wanted to show you like the English.
Yeah.
It says, live for yourself. It's wonderful what you can live in the... Oh, that one's fine.
Well, it's a little bit of a mess, but it is a meme. So what are you going to, or it is
like,
a poster.
And I'm like 10 years old, and it's just, I just want you to know that I will always love you. Like these kind of things are just a little weird.
Like little pep talks?
Just make someone happy. Make just one someone happy.
Okay, I think that's lyrics. That's actually Beatles, isn't it?
Oh, is it?
It might be.
That makes more sense, because I'm like thinking like, why are they putting these weird ass things? Like, I'll try to find the other one that was super... Oh, yeah, once upon a time lived Cinderella in the town. What does that have to do with any of this?
It doesn't have anything
right? Like,
to do.
it doesn't make sense,
like,
but...
we got to fill up another month.
There was... like, for example, like, there was a song called Only One by this group called Shinhwa. And then Shinhwa, like, the rapper, the American guy... this is where I'm like, I'm not a rapper at all, but it was like, you're the girl with the... I think it was like, you're the girl with the ice and the jewels, and like, I see you over there popping pills, and then that was like the rap.
That was the whole thing?
Like, with a couple other us in there, but like, essentially that was it.
It doesn't rhyme.
It doesn't make sense. But like, in the song, like, to Koreans, it sounds good, because it probably, with the syllables and like the way. So it sounds good, but it's like, I'm 10 years old and you're rapping about a girl that you see popping pills, but then you're in love with her, like...
Right.
What?
Is it? Should I go get some pills?
It was a very it was a very weird
the message
feeling.
there is not a good message. I would like to tell the Rangers, please do not pop pills for any reason unless they are prescribed.
Exactly.
And,
but so like about the like superficial thing, there was actually so there was a trend in like the early 2000s with some of the groups that started coming out. So there was one group called Brown Eyes that didn't release what they looked like for the first album, 2 albums maybe.
What?
Yeah, somehow, because so in Korea, if you're a K-pop idol, your life is over. Like, you have no social life.
Oh, right, because you can't go outside. They will just mob you.
Impossible. And then if there's any hints you're dating anyone, even if it's like another famous celebrity, they're getting death threats. Like, it's that bad.
Oh my God.
And like,
you don't get to have a life.
No.
I get to only imagine as how great you are. It feels vaguely Hunger Games. I wonder if the woman who wrote the Hunger Games was into K-pop.
I feel like we deserve credit now.
Exactly.
But like, my cousin used to live around the corner from SM Town, which is that big label, and you can just see writings on the wall, literally,
like graffiti.
Not technically graffiti, because I don't think it was legal, but it was just like writing notes to the singers and like.
Oh, and essentially it was allowed though, because you're just like, this is great advertising.
You can't do anything about it. I mean, I'm sure they don't want it there because the people, they're like, even during the day, like, because I went during my winter break, and so I was just walking around, but like during school time, like people were like just standing outside waiting, hoping to catch a glimpse of people.
Okay.
Like people like camp out there just to like hope to see somebody.
Wow.
Like it's really
That's
bad.
intense.
So I think that was also, and then they were trying to be like, oh, don't focus on what I look like focus on like the song. So they then it became a big deal because one of them actually was is an artist, and so he like did a sketch, and then they were like, this is us, and they didn't actually perform for like years later after that.
Okay.
And then there was this group called Big Mama. And then this music video is also very, very great. I think this music video is really great.
Awesome.
So it's like set in like a nightclub. So their debut song was called Breakaway. And it was set in this like kind of nightclub, like jazzy type of vibe, right? Like people are smoking cigarettes, that type of thing. Sure. And then you see these like four like probably standard beautiful women. They're skinny, they have that face, and they're singing. And then you just see the guys just like nodding like approvingly and like this is what we want. And then you see, and then like towards the end of the song, and then there's a random break dancer, of course, because you have to have dancing in K-pop music videos. If you don't, it's not a real video. Right. And then
we need to see some acrobatic dancing.
Exactly.
Please bring it.
And then and this song's a ballad too, so it was a very beautifully done. It was like just the breakdancer with one spotlight and a black, and the rest of it was dark. It was beautiful. I will give them that. So the breakdancer gets introduced, and then after that, it cuts to like behind the stage or like underneath or something, and it's these four women who look nothing like what's on stage. Like some of them are bigger, some of them are just like not as like
perfect looking. Yeah.
And so but their vocals, like you when you hear them, you're like, they obviously like deserve that record deal,
right?
You know. And then the video ends, and then they're standing outside like greeting people, like thank you for coming, and no one is paying attention to them. Even the singer, like one of the singers, like came out and like cut through them and just like was like, whatever, like you're nothing. And then their whole thing, and they're called Big Mama, but their whole thing is that like, you know, don't judge us for like we have the talent.
Right.
So like that started becoming, and obviously I don't think on a big scale of things, I think they're still performing, but like I don't think they like won out.
The industry.
They didn't change the industry. But it was nice to see the attempts there.
Yes. And that's, I mean, that's the journey, right? Is that we keep we have to remind everyone that women are people and people are people and, you know, whatever, you know, black people are people, Asians are people, and not just white men are people. It's good. We should all remember. And I know it's a slow burn.
It really is. And it's slower in it's just
slower in other countries.
It really is. Like in Korea, they also like they just had the biggest women's protest because there's like a thing where there's a lot of hidden cameras around. And there's like not laws to protect that. So
like in bathrooms. And
and it's just really gross. And then there was another scandal with like this K-pop group, or a couple of them, I think, some band members. There's a group of guys. There was like a secret like group chat with them, and somehow that got released. But they were like openly admitting to like date raping people, and they were laughing about it.
Right.
It's a very patriarchal society, you know. So
I remember I was in Australia in 2005. And there was one of the footy teams, one of the Australian rules football teams was accused of gang raping this woman, and they had just done it as a team.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah. Not cool.
As a team. Wow.
Well, a little team building exercise. We're gonna hurt this woman.
Oh my God.
All 11 of us.
How is that?
How is that okay? Yeah.
Especially it's just kind of wow. That means there was 11 guys that got together and was no one thought that was not a good idea.
Or no one had the guts to say,
true.
what a terrible idea.
Yeah.
It's I was in San Francisco at a noodle shop, and there was 4 what clearly were either mainland Chinese or Hong Kong guys, right? Or just maybe Singapore. I don't know, whatever. But they were Chinese businessmen.
Yeah.
And I couldn't understand what they were saying, but I understood the roles of each of those 4 men, much like that picture of the band. There was the guy who was clearly the boss, because the other 3 would occasionally laugh at things that you could tell were not funny.
I'm so jealous you witnessed this.
Oh my God. What was fun? The only reason I noticed it was because there was one guy who laughed uncomfortably at a couple of things the guy said, and one guy who refused to laugh, who just sort of smiled and was and shook his head. He was like, nope.
Oh,
but he didn't have it in him to tell the guy that whatever he said wasn't funny, but he was like, fuck, what are you doing? Leave.
He must have been at the same level.
It must have either been at the same level or cool enough, or literally gave 0 fucks.
I was gonna say
one of those. Because it's very hard to stand up in that kind of situation.
Oh yeah, and especially in a and culturally too. I don't see that really. Americans are you're rewarded for standing up for yourself. Sometimes.
Well, and it's been a slow process here, but compared to other countries, it feels like a rocket ship, right?
That's true.
I mean, where 150 years ago, women in America were we just want to wander around a little bit by ourselves, just some part of our day to ourselves. And genuinely, 75% of the men were well, we don't want to have to watch you all the fucking time either. And try not to get killed. Do you want to meet later? Yes, we totally want to meet later. And so we had to figure out, just like men have had to do for 10,000 years, how not to be killed by bad men or but just because evil people kill people, including other men. And other men get attacked all the time by bad men.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. So, but but it feels faster here. But I was in, Andy and I went on this tour, 18 days. It was 9 days in, it's probably 7 or 8, whatever. It was a weekish in Vietnam, a weekish in Cambodia, and then a couple of days in Thailand, and then we flew out of Bangkok. So, but the Vietnam guy, the tour guide from Vietnam, was hilariously smart and interesting, and he was like, this might be a little dark. Do you guys want to hear the 3 main reasons why women get kidnapped?
I just love how much. I feel it's just Asian culture. We're just naturally darker, because to me that's hilarious.
It is. It was. Well, and the thing is most of the tour, because we were on an old people tour, but it wasn't that old. It was some of the people in their 30s. But it was one of those tours where they brought you places, because I don't speak Vietnamese.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm going on a tour.
Yeah.
I need someone to tell me how to where shit is, and I just need some coffee and possibly a banh mi. The guy made fun of us wanting banh mi.
Oh.
He was like, "You want a 75-cent street sandwich?" I've been bringing you to people's homes, and we're like, "We love the homes. The food is amazing. We also would like a 75-cent street sandwich," and because your people have brought street sandwiches and they've made them delicious,
and then also way overpriced, so we don't know the difference.
We don't know the difference, even though they're $4 over at Lee's.
Yeah.
He's like, they could be 75 cents.
Exactly.
But it was interesting because he knew that it was horrible, right? But he told it from this very interesting perspective. He is originally from outside of Hanoi. He's from North Vietnam. And and there were many women, it was mostly Australian and New Zealand. Oh, and some British and then some American. And so, but he was saying, so there's a lot of women who are being kidnapped by the Chinese right now because they don't have enough women of a certain age. And he said, and this has been incredibly embarrassing to the men of Vietnam. It's been so painful for the men of Vietnam. The men of Vietnam are really devastated. And all of the women just started looking at each other. And my friend DJ, who was on this trip with us, she said, wasn't that great for the women of Vietnam either? I don't know if you understand who's the real victim here, but it's essentially women are being stolen from small towns in the night, like young women from these tiny villages. The other thing that's happening is women who go to college in Vietnam, their boyfriends will sell them after graduation.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
And it was horrible. And then the other thing is older women are being like middle-aged, middle-aged being not super young, right? Like sort of not everyone above 22, right?
Yeah.
Those people are being sold by their husbands because they want new ones or something.
That makes sense. I can see that being a thing.
And so I don't know if you know this, but it's been real hard on the men of Vietnam to have to deal with this.
That's my favorite, and that just makes me. It's hilarious, but it's also like
it's so horrifying.
And then that's what I love about stand-up comics is usually like we can laugh about like it's terrible,
right?
But like that's hilarious. But then also like a lot of people, I'm sure like if you're not really like thinking in that mindset, you're just like, oh my god, like also like why are they laughing? Like what is wrong with them?
Right. It's like and you know that it's not funny, but you know also that you're like, well, we have to fucking fix it. And until then, if we don't laugh, we're going to murder everyone.
That's very true.
And so I want to know before we leave, because we're almost at an hour.
Oh no.
I know it. How crazy is that? Right? What is the black noodle thing called?
Oh, jjajangmyeon.
How do you spell it?
Oh gosh. JJANGMYEUN.
Something like that?
Something like that.
And it's just, what is it? Is it black mushrooms?
It's actually, I honestly don't know. I think it's a black bean sauce, but it's originally Chinese. So China and like Japan like took over Korea. Well, China early, and then Japan like later. So there wasn't
World War II.
There wasn't like too much, but like a lot of influence. Like Koreans in elementary school, like through schooling, they spend a good chunk learning Chinese.
Yeah.
So that's just like a curriculum. English and Chinese are just standard curriculum.
In it.
Yeah,
okay.
and I think that's because of like them coming over. So a lot of the food, like
influence.
There's a lot of influence.
So you think it's a Chinese dish?
It's originally a Chinese dish, but it's popular in Korea.
And it's not a soup. It's a dry noodle.
It's a dry noodle.
It's a noodle and sauce.
Yeah, it's a noodle and sauce.
Okay, because my favorite thing is this spicy beef soup.
Which
Jukajang?
Oh, Yukajang.
Okay, Yukajang, and it's my favorite because it will cure anything, and even if you aren't sick, it will prevent you from being sick.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's the spices are, and Koreans were very proud because when SARS was a thing, it was. I don't think either no Koreans got it or very, very few Koreans got it.
Lucky Koreans, we didn't get the weird virus.
We're kind of like the best.
We're the best. We're immune to your weird virus.
And it's supposedly because like we eat kimchi is in our diet, and that has a lot of garlic and a lot of things that is good for.
Does kimchi have garlic?
It should.
I freaking love kimchi.
Yeah, it should.
But I don't
have
love
garlic.
it as much as my sister, who literally has been like, when are we going to Korea? And she turned me on to Korean food. And so, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, if you ever go to Korea, let me know. I'll have my cousins meet up with you. All my
maybe
family's
I can get
over
some
there.
work done.
I got you, Jackie. But you're
like,
beautiful just the way you
what's
are.
What's with your neck? And it's like, well, if you could do something, but anyway. So I've thought about plastic surgery just because I don't want to do it the hard way. So, and the aging process feels inexorable. But I'm also don't want to. I don't want to appear vain which is the vainest thing possible.
I was gonna say.
You know who's that's hardest on? The men of Vietnam. That's how is it?
If you learned anything from today, anything from 90s to early 2000s K-pop, it's that really the men of Vietnam are the true victims.
of the women of Vietnam being stolen. WellHongD.com. In Santa Ana, if people are down there, peeps and treats, and it's at Wellhong, WellHongD, as in Diana, right?
Yes.
Diana Hong, ladies and gentlemen, you have listened to the Dork Forest. Thank you so much for being on the Dork Forest.
Thank you for having me. It's so much fun.
And Rangers, you know the rules out there. Take care of each other.
My hat, my hat, my hat. They're dancing around my hat. My hat, my hat, my hat. Well, what do you think of that? If it looks like a Mexican hat dance and it sounds like a Mexican hat dance, it's most likely a Mexican hat dance. So take off your hat and let's dance.
Yay! Oh my God. Why don't we just call that as the end of the show?